Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for the 5% series for Gameweek 27. In this series we look at the players that are popular right now, but we include players that used to be popular because you may still have them. If you only choose popular players, then you've got a reasonable chance of doing alright in your mini leagues because you should be able to finish top 5% globally. Hopefully that makes sense. And I realise none of you probably care, but I'm recording this in the morning because the deadlines are just so tight at the moment. So I'm a bit tired, so I may get some of my words a bit wrong just because I should be asleep. All right, let's go. As always, we start by looking at how the players did in the game week just gone, which finished last night. So Flecken 7, Henderson 6. And the three most popular keepers in the system are Raya, Pickford and Sales. And look, they did nothing. And this is, every week I say the same thing, just as long as you have a keeper that plays, it really doesn't matter because it's hard to predict which ones are going to do well. Raya was expected to get a clean sheet, but he didn't. Other goalkeepers, Becker 8, and that's all. For the defenders, Munoz 13, very nice. Hall 7, Trent 6. Virgil van Dijk 6, Kanate 6. Aït-Nouri 6. And if some of these scores are wrong, I manually typed them in last night. There may have been some adjustments since then. I've not checked, but hopefully they're about right and it gives you an idea what happened. For the midfielders, Salah 14 and Mbeumo 14. So it was quite funny at the weekend. Some people captained Mbeumo who played earlier and they felt all good because they thought they made the right choice. And in the end, it really didn't matter. Fernandes 10, Son 8, Enzo 7. For the forwards, we have Isaac 10, Kuna 9, Wood 5, Mateta 5. João Pedro 12. He ended up playing, so that was very nice. Beto 6. We'd more or less written João Pedro off because he doesn't really play much. But because he's cheap, some people like myself would have kept hold of him because there's no money to be had moving him on. So for this upcoming game week, what do we think of the various players that are either popular now or used to be popular? For the goalkeepers, currently, by my reckoning, I'm expecting Pickford and Sales to be the most popular keepers around your rank. The number in red is how many points they score against you if you don't have them, and they score 6 points. So neither of them are going to be massively devastating. Pickford gets 6 points, you don't have him. That's only minus 1.7 against you. Now, as for the fixtures, Forest have some tricky fixtures coming up. 3 are at home, but it's Arsenal, Man City, Man United, and the away is Ipswich. He could get some clean sheet sales, but I definitely wouldn't be going there. But if you've got him, he's fine to keep hold of. Pickford's a lot of fun. Everton are fun at the moment. If you've got Pickford, that's fine. I probably wouldn't be going there at 5.1 million, but he's all right. So Raya and Flecken, they're both going to get you minus 0.9 if you don't own them, and they get 6 points. If I had to choose one of these keepers now and I had the money, I would definitely be going Raya because I think there's more chance of the clean sheets. But if you had Flecken and you save the 1.1 million, that's fine. But if you've got a playing goalkeeper, I don't care who it is, even if you happen to have Ramsdale from Southampton, just keep him. It's not worth a transfer at the moment. And then Henderson, I'm saying don't go buying him if you are thinking of swapping keepers because he blanks in game week 29. But if you've got him, that's absolutely fine. And then for the less important goalkeepers, Becker's possibly the best keeper short term, except he's blanking in game week 29. So if you've got him, he's worth holding on to because he's got Southampton at home next game week. But absolutely don't go buying him. Martinez used to be popular. He's not at all popular now, and he blanks in game week 29. Don't buy him. You may want to sell him at some point because he released a little bit of money and there are better keepers around that price. But it's not worth messing about with keepers. Now, you want to, when there's a wild card, change your goalkeeper then. If you've got 2 goalkeepers and neither of them are playing, then that's different. Like if you've got Sanchez and Fabianski, then it's fine to make a goalkeeper transfer. But apart from that, just don't bother. And then Ward represents only 4 million keeper, doesn't even play. And Fabianski used to play, but he doesn't anymore. Regarding the defenders, Trent is still the most important defender in the game, I'd say. He's still going to be the most popular around your rank. If he gets 6 points, you don't own him. That's minus 3.6 against you, which is significant. But he blanks in game week 29. So a few managers would be selling him now to release the money. and because he's blanking in 29, there'd be a load more that sell him for game week 29, but I suspect at least half the managers are going to hold on to him because they want him after that. So there's no way I'd be selling him at the moment unless I was desperate to get a certain player in, because he's at home to Newcastle, then at home to Southampton. He could get some nice attacking returns. If you want to sell him, that's fine. Personally, I wouldn't. And to protect your rank or do all right in the system, you just want to have the popular players. And then of all the popular players, you want the ones that have a chance of doing well. And Trent is a popular player, has a good chance of doing well. Gabriel's popular, and he's worth keeping hold of if you've got him, absolutely. Robinson, so his fixtures away to Wolves, Brighton, home to Spurs, and away to Arsenal. Reasonable chance, no clean sheets there, but he does get attacking returns, and he's going to be highly owned. So this, the minus 2.5, that is me allowing for transfers in, transfers out, and how many managers I think are actually going to play him. So you get some players that are very highly owned, but every game week, half the managers don't even play them. So Robinson, unless it's a very easy fixture, many managers don't play him. They just got him because they bought him when it was like 4.5 million, nice and cheap. But Robinson will do you some damage this game week if you don't play him. And he does all right. Forest's fixtures are not good. There are 3 home fixtures, but Arsenal, Man City, Man United, not great. And the way to Ipswich, absolutely would not be buying Aina now, but he may get a clean sheet. Munoz did well. He's a very attacking defender, very good, but he blanked in game week 29. So even though he's just got a good score, I absolutely wouldn't be buying him now. I wouldn't recommend buying him. I was chatting to somebody online who are investing in Palace players, and that would have gone very well, but they're free hitting in game week 29. So that makes sense, but it means later on in the season when there's a bigger blank, they may be struggling what they're going to be doing there. They may be dead ending and then wildcarding afterwards. So if you've got Munoz, that's great. He's a brilliant player. I mean, if you want to buy him, you can, but just be aware in game week 29, you've got 4 teams not playing. So Kirkes, Bournemouth have been doing well recently, but they had a man sent off, I think it was in the first half at the weekend when they played Wolves. So all the Bournemouth players did much worse than expected. You shouldn't let that put you off. If you've got Kirkes, that's fine. Personally, I wouldn't be buying him now for 5 million, but he's fine if you've got him. And then Lewis Hall, he got a couple of assists at the weekend. Newcastle do have a double coming up, but they're blanking in 29. So you need to be careful which Newcastle players you keep hold of for the upcoming double. So I would suggest if you've got Isak, definitely keep hold of him. If you've got Gordon, he's fine to sell because they release money. There's some good midfielders. And Hall is somewhere in between. If you're going to have 4 players that are blanking, including Hall, then you may want to move him on. But if you've got 3 including Hall, I'd say he's fine to keep. But you don't have to do anything yet. But away to Liverpool, away to West Ham, almost certainly no clean sheet there. He may get an attacking return against West Ham, but he's fine to move on. But anyway, he's blue. I'm just saying don't buy him. Other defenders. So Virgil van Dijk, he was very popular in the past. He's a lot less popular now. You get 6 points. It's only minus 0.6 against you. If you've got him, he's fine to keep because he's home to Newcastle and home to Southampton. But if you want to sell him, that's absolutely fine. And then after game week 29, I suspect no one's going to be buying him because Liverpool probably won't have any more doubles coming up. And for that money, you can get someone better. Mikalenko's bench fodder, but he's still moderately popular. So Konate will get similar points to Virgil van Dijk, both Liverpool. When they're both fit, they both play probably 90 minutes. But Virgil van Dijk does have a bit more attacking potential, but he's a lot more expensive. So if somebody was desperate to buy a Liverpool defender out of these 2, they should be buying Konate. But it's fine to have neither. There's no point moving Konate on really at the moment because he's only going to release 5.2. But if you wanted to, you could. But absolutely don't buy him. Saliba, he's a similar price to Gabriel, but he's far less slowly owned. So there's no point buying him. If you want an Arsenal defender, you've not got one, it's Gabriel you should be getting. Guardiola, he, I believe, is going to become much more popular from about game week 29. He's only 5.9 at the moment, but he's not going to be hurting you. But Man City are probably going to have a double in a few game weeks' time, And I think Gvardiol's going to be very popular then. No point buying him at the moment, but if you've held on to him this long, he's all right to keep hold of if you want to. And then Pedro Porro was incredibly popular, not so popular now. Spurs have done well recently, but at home to Man City, probably not a clean sheet. Home to Bournemouth, probably not a clean sheet. And even away to Fulham and Chelsea, probably not clean sheets. So with Pedro Porro, you're relying on attacking returns. I'd say if you've got him, he's all right. If you want to move him on, that's fine. Because if you sell him and then he does well, it's not going to hurt your rank. And then the least important defenders in the system, Aït-Nouri, I actually really like him. Wolves have been doing well recently. The upcoming fixtures are okay. There's definitely potential for clean sheets in the next 4. Definitely potential for attacking returns. So I'd say Aït-Nouri is a very good player for 4.7 million, but he's still lowly owned. So if he does well and you don't own him, it's not going to hurt your rank. But if he gets a clean sheet, maybe attacking return the next couple of games, his ownership may well go up. And then you may have to think, right, I need to get him in. How am I going to do that? So if you've got him, that's great. I would absolutely not be selling him. The only reason to buy him now is if you had Virgil van Dijk, you wanted to free up some funds. Aït-Nouri is an all right one to get. Konza, effectively no one owns Konza now. Absolutely don't buy him. He blanks in 29. Burn blanks in 29. Don't go buying him. And if you've got him, he's fine. I would definitely be selling Burn if I had him, because he doesn't play in Game Week 29 and there are better defender choices. Greaves, no one's got, but he's only 3.9 now. Well, Face only 3.9. Mazraoui 4.3. So he went off injured. But if you've got him, absolutely keep him unless he's flagged, because they're at home to Ipswich and there's a chance of a clean sheet there. However, I think he's even flagged at the moment, but he's still in the system because he was popular because he's cheap. So if you're wanting a defender and you've got transfers to burn, you've got Howard Bellis, he's fine to sell. There's no point having him apart from he's very cheap and he can just sit on your bench. For the midfielders, Palmer is expected to be the highest scoring player this coming game week and he's very highly owned. If you don't own him, the chances are he's going to really hurt you the next 2 game weeks. At home to Southampton, at home to Leicester, the expectations are Chelsea are going to score a lot of goals. So if you can get to Palmer, you really should have him. Salah, everybody owns Salah. Even people that aren't playing FPL own Salah. You have to have Salah. He's consistently doing well. The next 4 game weeks, he has 3 home games. You got to have him. And I'll assume you have got him. So Embremo is very popular, very highly owned. The next few game weeks, he could still keep getting some points. But then the fixtures do get slightly worse in a few game weeks' time for Brentford. But Embremo can score anywhere. But at 8 million, he's expensive. If you've got him, well done. If you haven't got him, he's a good player to get, but he's not worth, I think, taking lots of hits for to get. But he's going to consistently damage your rank if you don't have him. But nowhere near as much as Palmer and Salah will, because he's not that high owned. Kluivert, more than half the people around your rank, I'm reckoning, going to be owning Kluivert this week. Now bring up all the Brentford midfielders together. So Kluivert and Dango and Semenyo, they were heavily bought the last couple of weeks, but because they lost 1-0 at the weekend, some managers are selling them now and getting a bit nervous. But like I said, somebody got sent off. You don't want to worry about that. So of the 3, if they're all had the same ownership levels, I'd probably be going for Dango because he's got good minutes at the moment, although they may fade off a little bit, and he's playing as an attacker, doing really, really well. But Kluivert is the one that's going to hurt you the most if you don't own any of them. But Kluivert's the most expensive. So any of those 3 are fine to get. I know some people have got all 3, and that's fine. But on weeks where somebody gets sent off and they get no goals, that's obviously not going to be great. But if you want a Brentford midfielder, that's fine. Rodgers is on here. I'm saying he's a sell. He's done nothing the last few game weeks from an FPL point of view. He blanks in game week 29. Just sell him and, I don't know, buy on the Brentford boys or someone else. That'd be fine. And then Nwari, he's nice and cheap. He's probably going to play the next game week, maybe after that. But when Arsenal get their players back, he's probably going to sit on the bench. But he's only 4.6 million, so he's all right. Next page of midfielders. Gordon, I think, sellable. 2 away games, then he's missing a game. But if you do sell him, the chances are you'll be buying him back in a few game weeks' time because of Newcastle's nice double that's coming up. But he's 7.5 million, and in the short term, it's probably worth selling him, doing something with the money, getting points elsewhere, and then buying him back. Fernandes, I've put him back to being a good player now. Home to Ipswich, home to Arsenal, could get something. Then he's away to Leicester and Forest. He just keeps ticking along, but he is quite expensive, but he's very lowly owned. So if you've got him or you want him, that's fine. But if you don't have him and he does well, it really doesn't matter too much. But he is a good player in a very bad team. Luis Diaz, if you've got him, absolutely fine to have. 2 home fixtures, including Southampton, could get some points. Blanks in 29, absolutely don't go buying him. So Enzo Fernandez is a funny one. He does get good minutes. He does sometimes get goals. The next 2 games, home to Southampton, home to Leicester, may well get some good points there. Well, I think may get a 5, a 7, a 9, something like that. But he's only 4.7. So, for example, if you did Gordon to Enzo and sort of as a short-term punt, you are releasing some nice funds there that you could then do something interesting elsewhere. If you've got Enzo, that's great. Some people will be buying him because he's cheap. Is he the right Chelsea player to be buying apart from Palmer? I don't know. The only downside of Chelsea is they've really not been very good recently. So though at home to Southampton and Leicester should be good games, it's not an absolute banker that they will be. Son is a good player. Spurs have been doing much better recently, but 9.7 million, he's very expensive. Next to nobody owns him, so if he does well, he's not going to hurt you. If you particularly wanted him, that's fine. They are home to Man City next, but Man City aren't great at the moment, so he may do all right. But very few, if any, serious managers are going to be buying him because he's too expensive. I'm taking Winks out of the system because we got so many midfielders and I've got somebody new in the system, so I had to make some space. And then Dibbling's a good player in a very rubbish team and nobody owns him. He's not going to hurt you, but he's just bench fodder. If you've got him, that's fine. He's going to be on your bench most weeks. As for the forwards, Isak, I've not made him green now because he's not playing in Gameweek 29. Chances are you've got him, which is great. You kind of need him to protect your rank. Every 6 points he scores is minus 5.1 against you if you don't own him. And you don't want to worry about the fact that he's away to Liverpool. He can score against anyone. As can Chris Wood. He can score anywhere. He tends to only get 1 goal when he does score. I know he got a hat-trick recently, but generally he scores low. But he's consistent. He's incredibly highly owned. If you don't own him, he is going to hurt you. You don't have to buy him, though. So the next 4 game weeks, 3 are at home, but it includes Arsenal, Man City and Man United. And the away game is Ipswich. The chances are he's going to get between 20 and 30 points in the next 4 game weeks, I would guess. So he is a good player, but you don't have to get him. You just need to be aware he is going to hurt your rank when he does well. So Kuna, although he's only up to, about a quarter of the people own him at the moment around your rank, I think he's going to massively go up. He scored in the last 4 games. The fixtures coming up are quite good. People are piling into him, so his price is going to creep up. Now, it's probably not worth going Wood to Kuna, but if they had the same ownership levels, so they do the same damage, I'd say it is worth moving to Kuna because I think Kuna's going to outscore Wood, but I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, then Wood's the one that's going to do the most damage, and this is all about doing all right. But Kuna's popularity is almost certainly going to go up and up and up over the next few game weeks, and he is a good player. So I'm introducing Visser because his popularity keeps going up. He keeps getting points, so I kind of have to introduce him. The Brentford fixtures do get slightly worse in the near future, but he's all right. He's all right. He's a good player. He is a good player. He's not on my radar to buy, but that's just because there are other players I'd rather have. But if you've got Visser, absolutely fine. He's good. If you want to buy him, that's fine. I wouldn't be selling any of the other 3 in these pages to get Visser, but he's absolutely fine player. Watkins, completely sellable. Don't go buying him. He blanks in Game Week 29. If you did Watkins to Visser to free up some money, that's a sensible move. But Watkins to Kuna is probably a more popular move. So if I had Watkins, I would buy Kuna before I had Visser personally, but they're both fine. And I wouldn't go buying Wood just because I'd rather have personally Kuna. Mateta is a good player. Some nice fixtures coming up, but he blanks in 29. So if you go buying him, just be aware he's not playing then. But if you've got him, that's absolutely fine. He is a good player. Gakpo is a good player. He came on yesterday, I think, for maybe 11 minutes. So home to Newcastle, then at home to Southampton. So if you've got him, he's fine to keep because the next two fixtures are fine. And then I'd be reckoning you're selling him in game week 29. But if you want to sell him now to, for example, move to Kuna, that's all right as well. And Kuna's going to hurt you a lot more. Kuna's going to hurt you twice as much or more than that than Gakpo will if they both do well. And you don't own them. For the lesser forwards, Beto's ticking along nicely. He's only 5 million. He's quite a nice player to have. Raul Jimenez will get at some point sometimes. He's only 5.6. João Pedro, so he wasn't playing much. Like the game before last, he came on for 45 minutes, I think, at half time. But last game, he did well. If he's going to starting now and being on for 3/4 of the game or not, he suddenly becomes a good player. Bournemouth, Fulham, Man City, maybe not so great, then home to Aston Villa. He's actually going to be quite good, but we really don't know what his minutes are going to be. So if you've got him, he's okay to hold on to. I absolutely wouldn't recommend buying him, though. And if you want to sell João Pedro to make room for someone else, that's fine. Don't bother buying Haaland. He wasn't even in the squad last night because of an injury. We don't know how bad the injury is. We don't know if he's going to be back for Spurs, but nobody owns him. So if he gets 50 points, it's not going to affect your rank. And he won't get 50 points. And Dyer's injured, but I've kept him in the system because he's only 5.4, so he's a bit like bench fodder, really. If you've got Dyer and you can afford to move him on from a money point of view and you've got the free transfers, you should move him on, but I wouldn't be taking a hit to move him on. And then Vardy plays, he ticks along. Every third game or so he's going to get a goal, and he can get a goal at any time, and he's the penalty taker, and he's only 5.4. If you've got Vardy, he's fine to keep. If you want to move him on, that's fine. Wouldn't go buying him. And Cannon represents only 4.5 million forward who doesn't even play, just sits on your bench. So we're now going to look at the benching order. The way this works is the first player I show you that you've got, I suggest goes on your bench, which means you play the other player. Now, as it happened with the goalkeepers, I think there's a reasonable chance that none of these are going to get a clean sheet this week. But the order I would suggest for benching is you've got Ward or any 4 million keeper, doesn't even play, goes on your bench, which now includes Fabianski. I'd have Martinez away to Palace, then it'd be Henderson at home to Villa. Then Sells at home to Arsenal, Pickford away to Brentford, Flecken at home to Everton, Raya away to Forest, and then Becker's the keeper with the best chance of a clean sheet on this page, I think. But Newcastle can score anyway. They're at home to Newcastle. So I think the keepers don't matter so much this game week. You're probably going to get 2 or 3 points. One of these might get a clean sheet, maybe 2, but I really don't think it'd be many. For the other players, I'm going to go through them now. The first player you see that you've got, I suggest, is position 3 on your bench. Next one, position 2. Last one, position 1. But as always, this is just a suggestion. You do whatever you like. There is logic and rationale behind what I'm showing you. I'm aware it goes against what other people suggest. You do whatever you like. But if you blindly follow this over the course of the season, you'll do all right. So any 4.5 million forward doesn't even play. And Dyer's injured. Howard Bellis injured. Woutface, Greaves, Byrne, Konza, Dibbling, Mikalenko, Konate, Pedro Porro, Maswari, Aina, Hall, Aït-Nouri, Saliba, Rogers, Anwari, Kirkez, Virgil van Dijk, Munoz, and Rogers is yellow flagged. Personally, I suspect he's going to play, but we don't know that. And then keep going. We have Robinson, Gordon, Vardy, Luis Diaz, Enzo, Semenyo, Dango, Cliver, Beto, Gakpo, Raul Jimenez, João Pedro, Mateta, Gvardiol, Gabriel, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, you may be saying, would you really play Gvardiol over Mateta, over Cliver, for example? You have to play at least 3 defenders. If you've got Gvardiol, I'd say absolutely play him. And he's a 3rd defender on the page, so that's why Gvardiol's so high. But I think if you've got Gvardiol, Trent or Gabriel, you play them every week, don't care who they're playing. Last game week, some people, I saw some content creators do this as well, they benched Trent because they're away to Man City. That's crazy. Trent is very expensive. If you're investing that much money in a player, you play them. If you're going to sometimes not play them, you sell them. And as it happened, Trent got a clean sheet, so that was nice. Then it's Son, Watkins, Visser, Wood and Haaland. 6 players I haven't shown you, and they're the potential captaincy choices. So Palmer, within the community, is expected to be the highest scoring player. There will be a lot of managers captaining Palmer. Nice fixture. He is a good choice. But there's still going to be a lot of managers choosing Salah. So Palmer's expected to score the most. I think Salah may be the highest captain though. So both of these are good choices. Salah's probably the slightly safer choice, but Palmer is probably the better choice. So either of these are fine, but there are other choices. You could go for Mbremo. He should do all right this week. Fernandes could do well this week. Isak may do all right. And Kuna could do all right. So it's between Salah and Palmer, and it may be, if you're on social media and you're checking these things, if all the polls are suggesting everyone's captaining Palmer, I'd say go there. But if Salah's slightly ahead, then you've got a decision to make. But any of these as captain is fine. Any of these as vice captain is fine. If you don't fancy any of these, then any of the green midfielders or forwards are also a fair choice. As for the background picture, this is an image from 1582. And you might be thinking, why am I showing that? So this is kind of how they tried to play what we now call football then. Didn't quite have bucket hats, so these green floppy hats. You see a couple of players having it. So this deadline we've just passed, game week 26, there are some shenanigans where the deadline was extended by 20-something minutes, I think, because presumably there was a mess up. So people were still doing transfers after the deadline. And interestingly enough, today is the 24th of February. And on this day in 1582, the Gregorian calendar was introduced. And in that year, they took away 10 days. So this weekend just gone is not the first time there's been shenanigans. So in October of that year, October the 4th, people went to bed and they woke up on October the 15th because they removed 10 days from the calendar. Isn't that a stupid bit of trivia for you? That's what you get for making me record these videos in the morning. And there we have it. That's the scores for Game Week 26 and my suggestions for Game Week 27 and what I think you could try and do to do all right. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.